You are a gamer. One minute you're swinging your wrench at enemies in Bioshock. The next minute you're swinging from ropes in Uncharted. Two completely different games. But how different are they actually? Hello everyone, Aquatic Breakfast here. I'm going to be discussing the element of story that games have and introduce an idea to you. And once you wrap your head around this idea, you start to notice it everywhere, in movies, games, and books. The idea is this: every game is the same. You could also say every book is the same book, or in a more general sense, every story is the same story. I'll try my very best to explain this concept. Every game has a plot. Every game has characters that have interactions and play roles within that plot. All games tell a story. The thing that changes from game to game is the style and the way the story is told, and the actions characters have on the game's world. Think of it like this. X character does Y, which results in Z. To explain this equation better, I'm going to take heavy influence from the Bioshock series, mainly Bioshock Infinite. So obviously, there will be Bioshock spoilers. You've been warned. A main idea in Bioshock Infinite is that there are an infinite number of worlds and timelines, but, oddly enough, there are some things all across those timelines that stay the same. Those things that stay the same are called constants. All the things that change are called variables. Constants and variables. Keep those terms in mind. I'm now going to play an audio clip that reveals this idea in Bioshock Infinite. Listen carefully.
What are all these lighthouses? Why are we... Who are...
There are a million worlds. All different and all similar. Constants and variables.
What?
There's always a lighthouse. There's always a man. There's always a city.
How do you know this?
I can see them through the doors. You, me, Columbia, Songbird. Sometimes something's different, yet the same.
Constants and variables.
Yes.
I'll explain this audio further. Every single timeline involves the main character, Booker DeWitt, traveling to a lighthouse that takes him to a city. Those are the three constants. There's always a man, always a lighthouse, always a city. Everything else changes, however, such as how the man gets to this lighthouse, or what happens to him in the city that the lighthouse takes him to. Those are the variables. But let's take a look at a general perspective of this, because this actually applies to every single game. That's right, this idea is an allegory for how games deliver their narrative. The man isn't always Booker DeWitt. The man is a central character for which the plot revolves around. Sometimes the man isn't actually a man and is instead a woman. Take Tomb Raider's Lara Croft, for example. The man might not even be human. Sometimes it's even an animal. The man is essentially a character that goes on a journey. In the same sense, the lighthouse isn't always an actual lighthouse. The lighthouse is whatever allows the character to go on this journey, or what brings them to the plot. Sometimes the lighthouse is even a person. I'll use Tomb Raider again since it's a good example. Lara Croft's lighthouse would be her father, because it was him that was a great explorer and inspired Lara Croft to follow in his footsteps. I hope this is somewhat making sense. Lastly, this brings us to the city, which again isn't always an actual city, but it is usually, however, a place. It's the place where the lighthouse brings our character, where most of the character's journey happens. But what happens at the end of this journey? Well, that's a variable. It changes from game to game. Some games even end at the same place they started, the lighthouse. This is when a game comes full circle, but that's an entirely different topic for a later video. So let's go back to my equation and wrap this up in a pretty little bow, or a gigantic knot. The character is always different, but the idea is that there always is a character. Just the fact that there is a character makes it a constant. It doesn't matter who that character is, or the type of journey they have, or the experiences they have along the way. If you're having trouble understanding, Name a game in the comments section below, and I'll try to explain what the man, lighthouse, and city is for that game to help you better understand. I will be referencing the man, lighthouse, and city in future videos, so I hope it makes sense. And that, my friends, is why every game you play is the same concept. There's always a man, there's always a city, and there's always a lighthouse. Thank you for watching.